I find myself lately, as of late, meaning like the last year or so, I find myself talking about this idea of the Westerners' plight that just it keeps coming up in my consciousness, especially when I'm talking about certain things in elevation, the things we have to experience in order for us to, or face, things we have to face, understand, um, surrender, let go of, heal from, that it has been what I'm calling um, reality or normal for the Westerner. Now, I can only speak for a Westerner. I've only lived in the West, and I'm specifically talking about the systems and the operations and standards and expectations of people who grew up in the Western world. So imagine that you are someone who went to a typical public school. Um, you're doing a typical public program or average program, which is go to school, kindergarten through 12th grade, um, either leave school at the age where you can, which is I think 16 or something like that. Maybe it's younger now. Or you graduate, leave and go to work. If you're not working, you're probably doing something else for money that may not be the best thing, the most legal thing, and then you kind of jump into life. Or you graduate high school, same way. You graduate high school, you get a job, um, become kind of a working class, you know. Um, and then, or, you go to college. That's a little bit, you have the potential of going to another class and so forth, right? And depending on what school you go to or what credentials you have or status you have or um, sorry, this guy was not watching and he was just swerving all the way. But depending on what status you have, just kind of depends on what road your life takes. And all of this, I could talk about so many angles, but I'm gonna just go to school angle, school and then life, right? At no point in this are there typically for the average person. At no point are you experiencing rites of passages. At no point are you experiencing any type of significant initiations, into elevated life or higher consciousness. You're typically going to experience religion. So maybe you grew up in a religion, and so you're given a book that you're supposed to follow in order to be a good person. And then the law, you're given the land of the law so that you can be a good citizen. And you're just given all of these things that does not include any type of self-introspection or self-knowledge. The average person, there are some, but the average person, you're not given anything like it. I have studied so many cultures and traveled quite a bit, and it's like I see how different things are embedded that help you to understand yourself beyond the self, understand your family beyond the immediate family, understand the world beyond your community, your state, your nation. I've seen so many things that help you understand the world as one universal thing that you're connected to, that makes it important for you to understand not only yourself, but the world. And so, without me making this long-winded, because of this kind of usual way of doing things that seem to be normal, you find yourself living a life chasing, fighting, figuring things out, trying to fix things, competing, comparing, um, disassociating, hiding, you performing. It's so normal to not live your life how your inner being is pushing you to lead your life, or lead a life that's full of stress and full of worry and full of fear, or live a life where what you really want to do in life, maybe, and usually that's something more creative than what people are allowed to do or feel like they are allowed to do. That's something that's more holistic. um, but this becomes the norm. It becomes a norm for you to burn out and just take a vacation per year. If you're going to take a vacation. Some people don't even take the vacation because of the stress of money. It becomes normal to stress around money. It becomes normal to stress. I remember an elder came into the store one day, and she was asking for just some advice on how she can deal with the health issue she was having. And when she told me what health issues she's having, I immediately started asking her questions about like her emotional state and her mental state. And she was like, well, what that got to do with what I'm dealing with? And I said, well, physical dis-ease points to an emotional dis-ease or mental dis-ease. And dis-ease meaning imbalance, and I said, what you just described to me says that you're having a hard time processing life. There you may not know how to navigate situations where you can experience things and let them go. It might be stressing. She said, "Oh, that's just life." That was her response. "Oh, that's just life." And I'm like, "Dang." And so what she's saying is, well, okay, life is, it's normal for us to be stressed. It's okay. Like, let's not worry about that. Like, can you tell me what, what's going on? Like, she's like, no, it's just a normal thing. It's just normal. Everything is normal. So anyway, so I'm saying that to say, as I, in the ministry, talk about, how we are to experience a level of elevation and healing and all of those different type of things. A lot of what I'm talking about is how to be aware of certain things we have cognitive dissonance around. Um, you know, from the grandest spiritual concepts to even the smallest, like knowing that it is a spiritual act to find balance and not stress and regulate your nervous system. Like, that's a spiritual act. It meaning that in order for you to truly have a close relationship with the creator, you must regulate your nervous system and relax. You must not stress. Like, that's like a I can call it a spiritual concept. That's a big part of spirituality. And so I never forget when I first started counseling and coaching, one of my things to say your homework is to take FMLA or go on a vacation. It's like, oh, Queen, you just think everything will be fixed by just going on a vacation. Well, first of all, you're going to have to go on a vacation first before we can accomplish anything. Because at the state you're in right now, where you're stressing and you're just letting life just take you away, and you got all this stuff going on, and anything I tell you, you can't really receive it. And if I'm talking to you about some of these spiritual concepts that you're going to have to pick up and work with, you're going to be too caught up in life and stress to be able to even believe, receive any of those type of things. To the grandioso, I say grandioso, but it's people see these as big concepts, like understanding that you and your Father are one, you and God are one, or you are, the kingdom of God is within. Really helping to understand that, and having to dismantle the notion that God, the concept of God, or it's not even a concept to them, it's the thing to them at that point. This thing they call God is something separate from them. It's a thing, it's a person, it's a man, it's a woman, it's something personal, outside of them, judge, that's above them, usually in the sky. looking down, judging them, and like is the like their puppet in life. Like having to dismantle that, to having to understand how much standardized public school education really groomed you to ignore the soul, to ignore spirit, to um, totally get used to competing and comparing and trying to figure out your own life on your own and on your own terms, and um, be judged and attain your validation outside of yourself, whether that's grades or money or status or whatever that is. Like, so when I say the plight of the Westerner, because the Western world is greatly capitalistic, individualistic, um, male dominant, masculine energy dominant. There's not a balance in masculine, feminine energy. Because of all of those different things, and people being groomed and raised and conditioned in this for generation after generation after generation, now that we're in this age of awakening, we're in the age of the divine feminine, of the rise of the divine feminine, the rise of consciousness, and all of these different type of things. We're all having some level of nudging to live from a fifth dimensional understanding or standpoint. And notice when we're attached to this third dimension, like, it's tough because there are a lot of things you have to deconstruct. And it could feel like a battle at times, because it is a battle, and oftentimes the battle is in the mind. And then it could also be in this world, because once you start to elevate, you're gonna want to make different decisions, and some of the things you have attached to in life you may want to detach from, and that becomes a battle also, on should I do it or should I not. Whether it's like friendships, relationships, jobs, careers, habits, whatever it may be, you have to start breaking those, because a lot of those things is what keep us attached to this world and keep us in our ego and all of these different type of things. So it really is, the Western plight is very real. Not to say it's not a plight around the world. I'm just speaking from this standpoint. If you really look at, the system of conditioning and rearing in the West, like, man, it's really put a lot of people behind. It's really have buried people in ego. I'm going to say us. It has buried us in ego. It has, it's distracting. It is very limiting. However, here's the good news. Here's the good news. With every difficulty comes ease, right? There's always a balance. There's always a balance. And so there's always opportunity to experience another side of it. And so we are in a time where there's a great death and rebirth happening. We are in a time where there's a huge shakeup and wash out and clean up and elevation. We are in that time, and the cosmic energies are assisting us. The fact that we are in the age of information, yes, there's some information gluttony going on, or information obesity, I heard somebody say the other day, going on. But with information, because ignorance truly is not bliss. Ignorance really is detrimental. So with information comes some levels of elevation, which is beautiful. And so that's the good news. The good news is you can't ignore some things anymore. There was a time where you could ignore some things and just keep doing the same thing. No, it's not happening now. It's no way you're gonna just keep doing the same thing. Your inner being is on top of you, and it's heightened. That's the thing. It's heightened. You can't ignore that inner being. Where you used to be passive with the inner being, no, you can't ignore it. I don't care who you are and what you got going on. You're not able to ignore the inner being. So here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. I'm going to encourage you to pay attention to your spirit that's pushing you higher. Pay attention to that spirit. Pay attention to what your inner being is bringing into interest for you when it comes to knowledge, okay? And give over to it. Get to understand whatever it is. If you, I need to learn more about this, that whatever it is, give over to it. Your inner being knows best. It's going to tell you which way you need to go. It's going to tell you what you need to learn. You're going to gravitate to the places you need to go, even if they're just stops on your journey. Meaning, you may go to that place and get something and it's good and you love it, and then it's not, and then you have to move on. That's okay. Oftentimes that comes with the journey. Sometimes we get discouraged because on our elevation journey, we're steered in a certain direction. We start to feel like it's changing our lives. We're learning things, we're growing, and then it fizzles out, meaning maybe something happens or whatever. Don't stop there. Just realize, okay, that was just a season. That wasn't something that's forever. That was just a season. So what next? Keep going, because that's usually what the elevation process look like. And sometimes that process look like isolation. All right? That process oftentimes look like isolation. But that process also always looks like there is village and community. You just have to be discerning on who and what is your village, what is your community, who is your community. And don't try to cleave to those communities that you are not in alignment with anymore as you begin to elevate. And when I say elevate, I don't mean you're elevating past somebody. Because see, that's, again, if sometimes even a spiritual conversation or elevated conversation, you can hear from an ear of a comparative and competitive. No, elevation is just that. You're going higher in the mind, and high and low is not a depiction of good or bad. It's just that's what's happening. I mean, a low frequency is not a bad frequency. It's just a low frequency, and it's going to have things that's alignment with it. But once your frequency starts to raise, once your consciousness starts to raise, once your knowledge starts to raise, your life began to change. So yes, you may become different than that friend group you had. You may start feeling different than your family. You may start feeling different than the religious groups you used to be associated with, or spiritual groups you used to be associated with. That doesn't make them bad. It makes you not in alignment no more. And you being out of alignment, again, doesn't make them bad or you good, them good. It just makes you not in alignment anymore. So then it's people. I mean, this street is wild. I'm just like, wow, sis, this is not even lame. So you just want to follow what your spirit is saying without judgment, not judging yourself and not judging others, not judging a journey, and just try your best to stay as an observer and be obedient to spirit, be discerning. And so anyway, if you don't know who I am the founder of OU Ministries. OU Ministries is, I used to call it a total life transformation ministry, because once you become a part, you really do experience a total life transformation, truly. Because you just start elevating. It's not because of the ministry as a physical thing or me or something like that. It's because of the truth that is studied, the truth that is ministered through that ministry. And also not just that, but the things that we do, the classes we have, the activities we do. Right now we're doing an OU version of Lent, and it comes with everyday reflection questions and journaling prompts. We are gathering together in the app. OU has an app called OU's Well House. And so we're gathering together every day in the app and sharing our experiences. And then during the Holy Week, we're going to be doing fasting and a prayer regimen that is influenced by the Salat prayer of the Islamic family. And so, it's things like that when we come together as family and we're doing something that's intentional and it's really pushing us to die to self and to really see ourselves and notice how we're in ego and notice how we're attached to this world and operating from the mind of this world. That really helps us to elevate, because in order to be able to grow, you have to be aware. And so these reflection questions and journaling prompts are great ways every day to have something to reflect upon deeply so that you can grow. And so that's just one of the things that we do. You know, we gather to learn, we gather to hold each other, not even hold each other accountable, more like inspire each other to stay the course, you know, because it is what it is. You can't really hold anybody accountable to their inner being. You know, you can only hold yourself accountable. It could at best be motivation, which is fleeting, you know, but nonetheless, I just encourage you, whether you check out OU Ministries, you can at ouministries.com and see what we have to offer, or you can tune in to the Sunday Fellowship, which is hosted every Sunday virtually at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. For those who are in Atlanta, they usually come in and gather at the Garden. Or check out more videos on the YouTube, which the Sunday Fellowships are placed on the YouTube channel. However you check it out, or if it's not OU ministry that resonates, find a ministry that helps you to grow. Find a ministry that that helps you to push past the consciousness that is groomed in the Western world, which is a very capitalistic, which means it's totally for self, totally no idea of oneness and what that really means, which is very individualistic, very anti-spiritual, anti-universal. That's just a lot of the conditioning. And we don't know, it's subtle. It's not like we sit down and go, we are not, you know, universal beings. We are not spiritual beings. No, it's not that apparent. It is very subtle how this Western world is very, what kind of bug is that? It's very, oh, a ladybug. Hey, ladybug. Okay. Well, like you trying to get out, so I'm going to let you out, Boosie. You ain't got to, there you go. Aw. I'm going to have to vibe with the ladybug today. So anyway, it's very subtle how this Western society does those things, teaches those things, grooms us, conditions us in that way. And it's so subtle, greatly subtle now because it's just so normal. It's normalized. And listen, it might be normal, but it ain't the best way. It ain't the most fruitful way to live. It's not the most peaceful way to live. We see that. You know, it's very clear. We have a high rate of heart disease. We have a high rate of diabetes, cholesterol, drastic effects happening to the womb, high level of fibroids, high level of cancer, high level of tumors. All of these things are physical indication of what's happening spiritually and emotionally and mentally. That's what it is. It's physical manifestations of what's going on with the inside of us, what's going on in our hearts, what's going on in our minds, and with our souls. Okay? And this is not to blame, like, oh, so you saying my family member that has cancer or tumor are bad people? No, again, it's not about being good or bad. It's about being in alignment with the universal laws, with the laws of life, with the laws of the actual land, nature, the laws of nature. We are out of alignment with the laws of nature, which is causing dis, D-I-S, ease, E-A-S-E, which is the natural state of nature. It's ease. It's downstream, not upstream. And we are currently greatly going upstream, and it shows. So I encourage you to stay encouraged. Follow your inner being. Your inner being is always guiding you where you should go to find your way back home. Your inner being is always guiding you in the way that you should go to find your way back home. Where is home? Home is in the center of the heart that is at ease, the heart that is at peace, the heart that feels is able to feel joy and powerful and peaceful. That is home, and your inner being is always trying to call you there. I can't tell you what your inner being is saying to you today, but I'm encouraging you to listen to it. Okay, if you're interested to learn more about OUN Ministries, visit OUNministries.com, OYUN Ministries.com. All right, I pray this message resonated with you, and that you can take it and really chew on it, and it can be fruitful for your experience. All right. Peace and love, y'all.